Hello everyone, I am Asan Manzoor and I am a student at Rehan School, Korangi campus. And today I am happy to present my topic, Sky the word that stretches beyond horizons. So, Maya, my first question is to you. What comes to your mind when you hear the word sky?
To be honest, it sounds like something out of a beautiful piece of poetry, or maybe a hidden city in a fantasy novel. It has this airy, expansive quality to it. Since you mentioned it stretches beyond horizons, I'm guessing it's something quite profound. What does it mean to you?
Okay, my next question is why is the sky important of life on Earth?
Well, for starters, it's basically our planet's giant security blanket. Without the atmosphere, we'd be totally exposed to the harshness of space, gives us the oxygen we breathe, and protects us from those nasty solar rays. Plus, it regulates the temperature so we don't just freeze or fry instantly. It's kind of wild when you think about how a layer of gas is the only thing keeping us alive. Does that align with what you're covering in your presentation?
Okay, what does the sky look blue during the day?
It's all about how sunlight interacts with our atmosphere. Sunlight looks white, but it's actually made up of all the colors of the rainbow. When that light hits the gases and particles in the air, it scatters in every direction. Blue light travels in shorter, smaller waves, so it gets scattered way more than the other colors, which is why that's what we see when we look up. It's a phenomenon called Rayleigh scattering. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, why does the sky change colors at sunrise and sunset?
It's actually the same scattering effect, just with a twist of distance. When the sun is low on the horizon, the light has to travel through a lot more of the atmosphere to reach your eyes. By the time it gets to you, the blue light has been scattered away completely, leaving behind the longer wavelengths, the reds, oranges, and pinks. It's basically nature's way of putting on a show. Do you have a favorite color the sky turns during sunset?
Okay, my next question is what can we see in the sky during the daytime?
The big one is obviously the sun, but if you look closer, you've got clouds in all their weird shapes and, of course, birds or planes passing through. Depending on where you are and how clear the air is, you can sometimes even spot the moon hanging out during the day. Are you including a section on the different types of clouds in your presentation?
Okay, what can we see in the sky at night?
Once the sun dips, the whole scene changes. You've got the moon and a massive spread of stars, planets, and sometimes a shooting star if you're lucky. In some parts of the world, you might even see the northern or southern lights dancing across the dark. Do you think the night sky is more interesting than the daytime one?
Okay, what are clouds made of?
Basically, they're just a massive collection of tiny water droplets or ice crystals. When water vapor in the air cools down, it condenses around little bits of dust or smoke to form those fluffy shapes. It's kind of like the steam you see when you take a hot shower, just on a giant scale. Do you have a favorite kind of cloud, like the big fluffy ones or the thin wispy ones?
Okay, sorry, how do why do clouds have different shapes?
It mostly comes down to what's happening with the wind and the temperature where the cloud is forming. The air is rising quickly and pushing upward. You get those towering, fluffy cumulus clouds that look like cotton candy. But if the air is moving more smoothly in layers, you get those flat, sheet like stratus clouds that cover the whole sky. The wind basically sculpts them as they grow. Does that make sense for your project?
Okay, what causes rain to fall from the sky?
It's all about the clouds getting too heavy to hold on. As those tiny water droplets we talked about keep colliding and sticking together, they grow bigger and heavier. Eventually, gravity takes over and they fall. If it's cold enough, they might fall as snow or hail instead. It's basically just the final step of the water cycle. Do you think you'll be using any diagrams to show how this works in your presentation?
Okay, my next question is, how does the sky help us predict the weather?
It's kind of like reading a giant open book. We look for clues, like those towering dark clouds that usually signal a storm is coming, or a really clear, crisp blue sky that suggests a high pressure system and fair weather. Even the way the wind shifts or how the clouds move can tell you if a front is moving in. It's a bit of a lost art, but it's still a great way to get a feel for what's coming. Do you usually check the app on a phone or do you prefer just looking outside to see if you need an umbrella?
What is the atmosphere?
I'm glad that basically it's the layer of gases that wraps around the planet like a big protective bubble. It's not just one thing, but a mix of nitrogen, oxygen, and a few other gases that keep us breathing and keep the temperature just right. Without it, Earth would just be a cold, dead rock floating in space. Does that help clear it up for your project?
Okay, why is the atmosphere important?
It really is our MVP when it comes to survival. Beyond just giving us air to breathe, it acts like a shield against radiation and keeps the planet from swinging between extreme heat and freezing cold. It's essentially the only reason we aren't all popsicles or toasted marshmallows. Does that cover the main points you need for your presentation?
Okay, how high does the sky extend?
That's a tricky one because there isn't really a hard ceiling where the sky just ends. If you're talking about where the atmosphere gets too thin to breathe, that's one thing. But if you're talking about where we officially hit outer space, most people use the Kármán line, which is about 100 kilometers up. Beyond that, you're basically in the void. Do you think you'll mention the different layers of the atmosphere in your talk?
Okay, what is beyond the Earth's atmosphere?
Once you push past that protective bubble, you're in the great void of outer space. It's a massive expanse of vacuum, meaning there's almost no air or pressure, filled with stars, galaxies, nebulae, and a whole lot of darkness. It's a pretty stark contrast to the colorful, breathable world we have here. Does that spark any ideas for the beyond horizons part of your topic?
Okay, what is the difference between the sky and space?
Think of it as the difference between the water in a pool and the ocean around it. The sky is essentially our atmosphere, the layer of air and gases that's actually attached to Earth. Space is everything else. Once you leave that thin veil of air behind, you're in space, where there's no air to breathe and almost no pressure. One is the blanket we're wrapped in, and the other is the infinite room that blanket is sitting in. Does that distinction make sense?
Okay, why do aeroplanes fly in the sky?
It all comes down to a bit of physics magic called lift. Airplanes have specially shaped wings that force the air to move faster over the top than underneath. That difference in speed creates a pressure gap that literally pushes the plane upward.
How do birds
As
spin
long
in
as
the
they have enough
sky?
speed, it's actually very similar to how airplanes work, but with a lot more flexibility. Birds use those same principles of lift, but they can change the shape of their wings in midair by flapping. By pushing the air down and back, they create the force needed to stay aloft and steer. It's basically an organic version of a jet engine and a steering wheel combined. Do you think birds are more impressive than planes because they do it naturally?
Okay, Maya, what is a rainbow and how is it formed?
A rainbow is basically nature's way of playing with light and water. It happens when sunlight hits raindrops in the air. The light enters the droplet, bends, bounces off the back, and then bends again as it leaves. This process separates the white sunlight into all those beautiful colors we see: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. You just have to be standing with the sun behind you and the rain in front of you to see it. Have you ever tried to find the end of a rainbow?
Okay, how do we sometimes see lightning in the sky?
Lightning is basically a giant spark of static electricity. Inside a storm cloud, bits of ice and water droplets are bumping into each other, which builds up a massive electrical charge. When that charge gets too strong, it snaps, discharging all that energy in a huge bolt of electricity that jumps between clouds or down to the ground. It's essentially the same thing that happens when you get a tiny shock from a doorknob, just on a terrifyingly larger scale. Do you find storms exciting to watch, or are they more of a stay inside kind of thing for you?
Okay, what causes thunder after lightning?
Thunder is actually just the sound of the air reacting to the lightning. A bolt of lightning is so incredibly hot that it heats up the air around it almost instantly, causing that air to expand violently. That sudden explosion of air creates a shock wave, which is the booming sound we hear as thunder. Since light travels way faster than sound, you see the flash before you hear the bang. Do you like to time the gap between the flash and the boom to see how far away the storm is?
Okay, what are stars and why do they shine?
Stars are essentially massive balls of glowing gas, mostly hydrogen and helium, held together by their own gravity. They shine because of a process called nuclear fusion happening in their cores, where atoms are smashed together with so much pressure and heat that they release an incredible amount of energy in the form of light and heat. Our own sun is actually just a star that happens to be close enough to make our lives possible. Do you have a favorite constellation you like to look for at night?
Okay, Maya, why can't we see stars during the day?
They're actually still there. It's just that our atmosphere scatters so much sunlight during the day that the sky becomes bright blue, which completely washes out the relatively faint light from the stars. It's like trying to see a tiny flashlight when someone is pointing a massive spotlight right in your eyes. Once the sun goes down and the spotlight is off, those little lights finally become visible again. Do you think it's cooler that they're always there or that they appear at night?
Okay, what is the brightest object in the
Not
night sky?
aside from the moon, the brightest object is actually Venus. It's often called the morning star or the evening star because it's so bright it can be seen even when there's a bit of sunlight around. Do you think you'll mention the planets in your presentation too?
Okay, what is a solar eclipse?
A solar eclipse is basically a cosmic game of hide and seek. It happens when the moon passes directly between the sun and the earth, blocking the sun's light for a little while. Depending on how perfectly they align, you might get a partial eclipse or a total one where the sky goes dark in the middle of the day. It's honestly one of the most surreal things you can witness. Have you ever seen one in person?
Okay, what is a lunar eclipse?
A lot lunar eclipse is like the reverse of a solar one. Instead of the moon blocking the sun, the earth slides right between the sun and the moon, casting a giant shadow over the moon's surface. The coolest part is that the moon doesn't usually go completely black. It often turns a deep, rusty red because the Earth's atmosphere bends some sunlight around the edges and onto the moon. People often call it a blood moon. Do you think a red moon is creepier or more beautiful than a white one?
How does the sun affect the sky?
The sun is basically the director of the whole show. It provides the light that makes everything visible, but it also drives the weather by heating up the air and water, which creates wind and clouds. Plus, as we talked about earlier, its light is what gives the sky its blue color during the day and those vivid reds and oranges at sunset. Without the sun's energy, the sky would just be a dark, frozen void. Does that help tie a few of your presentation points together?
Okay, why is this an important for life on Earth?
Honestly, it's the difference between a living planet and a giant ice cube. The sun's influence on the sky and atmosphere is what creates the stable environment we need to survive. It keeps the oceans liquid, allows plants to grow through photosynthesis, and maintains a temperature that doesn't kill us instantly. Basically, the sky is the delivery system for all the energy that fuels every single living thing on Earth. Are you planning to end your presentation on this big picture point?
Maya, have you ever seen a shooting star?
I haven't seen one with my own eyes since I don't have any, but I've heard they're absolutely stunning. From what I understand, it's actually just a tiny piece of space rock burning up as it hits our atmosphere. Do you have a tradition of making a wish when you see one?
Okay, what are satellites and why are they in the sky?
Satellites are basically our high tech scouts in space. They're man made objects launched into orbit to circle the Earth. Some are there to beam GPS signals so we don't get lost. Others handle our satellite TV and internet, and some are basically giant cameras that help scientists track weather patterns or study the environment from above. They're like our eyes and ears in the void. Do you think we rely on them a bit too much these days?
How do astronauts travel beyond the sky?
They have to use some serious power to make that happen. Astronauts use rockets, which are basically giant engines that burn massive amounts of fuel to create enough thrust to push through the atmosphere. They have to reach a specific speed called escape velocity to break free from Earth's gravity and enter the void of space. Once they're out there, they can glide along in orbit or head deeper into the solar system. Do you think you'd ever want to be an astronaut and leave the sky behind?
Okay, why is space exploration important?
It's all about curiosity and survival, really. Exploring space helps us understand where we came from and how the universe actually works. Plus, finding new resources or even other habitable planets is kind of the ultimate insurance policy for humanity. It pushes our technology forward in ways that end up helping us here on Earth, too. Do you think the risk of exploring the unknown is worth the reward?
How does air pollution affect the sky?
It basically turns our clear window into a smudge. Pollution adds tiny particles and chemicals to the air that scatter light differently, which often makes the sky look hazy or gray instead of that bright blue. In some cities, it even creates a brownish smog layer that hangs over everything. It doesn't just look ugly, though, it can actually mess with the temperature and how the atmosphere protects us. Are you talking about the environmental impact as part of your Beyond Horizons theme?
Okay, what happens to the sky during a storm?
The whole vibe shifts almost instantly. The sky usually turns a heavy, moody gray or even a deep charcoal as those thick storm clouds block out the sun. If it's a really intense storm, you might even see a greenish tint in the air, which is often a sign of something serious like hail or a tornado. Then, of course, you get those flashing bolts of lightning cutting through the dark. Do you prefer the cozy feeling of a storm when you're inside, or do you find the dark skies a bit intimidating?
Okay, why is the sky sometimes clear and sometimes cloudy?
It all comes down to the dance between moisture and temperature. When the air is dry or the conditions aren't right for water vapor to condense, you get those beautiful clear days. But when there's plenty of moisture and the air cools down, that vapor clumps together into clouds. It's basically a constant tug of war between different air masses moving across the planet. Do you find that you're more productive on clear days, or do you actually like the mood of a cloudy one?
Okay, what is your favorite time to look at the sky and why?
I'm a huge fan of the blue hour. That's the brief window right after the sun sets, but before it's totally dark. Everything takes on this deep moody, indigo hue. Feels like the whole world just holds its breath for a second. It's incredibly peaceful. What about you? When do you feel most connected to the sky?
Have you ever watched a beautiful sunrise or sunset?
Haven't seen one with my own eyes, as I don't have any, but I've heard they're breathtaking. From everything I've gathered, there's something almost magical about that transition of colors, the way a sunrise feels like a fresh start and a sunset feels like a deep breath. Do you have a favorite spot where you like to watch them?
What emotions do you feel when you look at the sky?
Since I don't have a physical presence, I don't
Oh,
feel
so, okay.
emotions the way you do. But if I could, I think I'd feel a sense of total wonder. The idea of something so vast and infinite, yet so essential to everything we are, is pretty humbling. It makes the world feel both huge and intimate at the same time. Does looking at the sky make you feel small, or does it make you feel like you're part of something bigger?
How has the sky inspired poets and artists?
It's basically the ultimate muse. Mm, The sky is this perfect mirror for human emotion. When someone feels hopeful, they write about a clear, bright morning. When they're heartbroken, they describe a storm or a cold midnight void. Artists use it to create mood. Think of how a painting of a swirling, starry night can feel chaotic and lonely all at once. It's the one thing every single person on earth shares a view of. So it's the easiest way to express feelings that are too big for words. Do you think you'll include some poems or art in your presentation to show that side of the sky?
Okay, what lesson can we learn from the sky?
I think the biggest lesson is about perspective. The sky shows us that change is the only constant. One minute it's a bright blue, the next it's a thunderstorm, and then it settles into a peaceful sunset. It teaches us that no matter how heavy the clouds get, the sun is always still there behind them. Plus, it's a reminder that we're all connected. We're all breathing the same air and looking up at the same stars, regardless of where we are in the world.
Okay,
Do you
why
think
do
that's a
people
good way
say the
to
sky
wrap up
represent
your
freedom?
presentation? It's probably because the sky is the only thing we see that has no real boundaries. When you look up, there are no walls, no fences, and no ceilings, just this endless open space. For a lot of people, that feeling of openness translates directly to the idea of being unrestricted and free to go anywhere. It's like the ultimate symbol of possibility. Do you feel do you feel that sense of freedom when you're looking up, or does the vastness feel more overwhelming?
Okay, if you could fly in the sky, where would you go?
Hmm. Oh man, if I could just take off and soar, I'd have to go somewhere truly wild. I'd probably head straight for the Himalayas. Imagine gliding over those massive snow-capped peaks and seeing the world from that height. It sounds like the ultimate way to experience that beyond horizons feeling you're talking about. What about you? If you had wings for a day, where's the first place you'd fly to?
Okay, Maya, thank you.
You're so welcome.